Hi, I'm Steve Dove, and I'm the son-in-law of Bob Knight and brother-in-law of Vin Knight.
Hi, I'm Sue Dove. I'm Bobby Knight's daughter and Vin Knight's sister.
When you met Sue, were the Knights were they dominating? Where was Bob and Vin there?
Well, they were just more or less kicking along. Had a team probably of about 8 or 10 horses, if that, and they were up Burgess Road. We were up further at Dad's place, and my father at the time was very big. He was leading driver and trainer at the showgrounds at the time. And I just made it up with Vinny, and he had a good type of a sister.
So you were great mates with Vin Knight?
Oh, sensational, yeah. We were really good mates the whole time through. So.
Back in the 80s and the 90s and the 70s, it was Kilmore.
Exactly. Kilmore was the place to be. Like, the Kilmore Cup was massive, and all your good trainers were wanting to sort of come to Kilmore, and yeah, so it was a good time to be in harness racing.
Dad didn't want us to get married.
Didn't he? Why?
No, just sometimes.
Knights and Dove was a love-hate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that never got on.
So
like arch enemies on the track and off it, yeah.
Dad wasn't even going to the wedding. No, he didn't give us away. So Vinny said, "I'll give you away and I'll pay for the wedding."
So that's amazing, really. So Bob was that competitive against the Doves.
Yep.
Crosstown rivals at Kilmore.
We've been together since we were 15, so it's a long time.
We just decided time was right. So.
What about your family? The Doves, were they?
No, they're fine.
Yeah, they're fine. Yeah.
They love Sue.
Yeah.
So there was no problem there whatsoever. So, but yeah, it was shaky times there for a little while, but it all worked out. Yeah. Me and Vinny always got on terrific anyway, so it didn't matter. It was just me and Bob didn't get on real good. I was a bit of a, if I can say it, shit stirrer, and I used to rev him up a bit, so it wasn't.
And so that's why you got on with Vinny then?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we used to do everything together. We were pretty close. He was probably a little bit better than me, but I never told him that.
Mm.
But yeah, but we were very competitive in what we done. But on the track, he was a fair bit better than me. Yeah. They had the best horses you could possibly get hold of. Bobby trained them, and Vinny was there, and he had them and trained them as well. So they just dominated because they had the best and they knew what to do with the best. Like, that was the thing. Vinny couldn't teach you what to do with a horse because half the time he didn't know himself. He'd get out in the track and do the complete opposite what he went out there to do. And I'd say, "Why'd you do that?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "It just felt right at the time."
So was that a gift that you can't really teach that he had with horses?
Exactly. Yeah, he just would do things you would not dream of doing, he would do with a horse.
Yeah.
You know, and Bobby was good in his own right. Like, you know, he got the horses, and he was very good with the owners and all that, and Vinny done the rest.
Explain, if I met Vinny for the first time, say in the 80s or when he was dominating, like, what would he be like to have a beer with?
Well, put it this way, if you didn't know who he was, normal bloke.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd get out playing darts at the pub. Gets a bit boisterous at times because we always, didn't matter what you done, you had to play for money. Yeah, and the pubs used to love us too, love him especially, because you used to spend a bit of money there.
Yeah. Well, he was the rock star, wasn't he? Yep. And when people think of Kilmore, they think of the Knights, don't they?
Yeah, oh for sure, yeah. He was good with people in the industry as well. So I think if he found it hard to try and teach someone, he'd see a horse go around and he'd say, "Oh, I think it needs this," or "I think it needs that." But as far as telling you how to train the horse to get the best out of it was very hard.
Yeah.
Well, you got to know the horse you're going to get as well to do what you're going to do with it. So
it would have been interesting to be a fly on the wall sometimes in Poppy's barn or stall when Vinny would go out and just have a chat to Poppy and
Oh, for sure.
and it'd just be there.
Yeah,
Yep.
probably.
Do you often do that?
Yeah, there'd be a bit of ball getting flown on tipping.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it would have been interesting. So, but that's the way people are with
And when he
animals.
broke down, Dad made sure that he had every available machine that he could get to make sure that he'd have that comeback.
Yeah.
Bought a water treadmill for him, which was
Yep.
probably unknown in a lot of harness racing stables at that time. More so probably gallopers.
It's
probably.
called necklace sizer back then.
Yeah, all the machines, magnetopulses, whatever he could get for the horse he got, because he had to be boxed for quite a long time before they could even walk him out of the box at
I
one
think it was
stage.
three months in the box without leaving it.
So how big was Poppy and Vinny in Victoria?
They were as big as Freeman and McIvy Diva sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know, and they were.
Bart Cummings,
Like everyone
another Bart Cummings.
knew. You know, knew as soon as you said, oh, and everyone knew when you went out, they go, oh, there's Vin Knight, you know, he's got Popular Alm, stuff like that. So, you know, yeah, they were big.
The relationship with Vinny and Bob and how they worked together?
It got a little bit strained near the finish, but they, right throughout the time that they did train together, really good. Because Dad's place was more near the finish, was he organised the owners, got the guys with the big money to buy the horses. So Vinny didn't have to concentrate so much on that. He can concentrate on training and driving. Dad did a lot of the training in the early days and got Vinny to where he was. You know, probably pushed him pretty hard as a driver, didn't he?
Yeah.
Because they used to like to have a punt, so if he had to be out there and on his game when he went out. So, so Dad was pretty hard on Vinny, but I don't think there was a point where Dad knew where to back off. You know, Vinny got to a stage where he wanted to take over the training and have it in the horses in his name, which would have been nice to have seen that go around, wouldn't it?
Was it a case that Bob didn't want that to happen?
Yeah, probably. He'd want to be a part of it, and that was always his part as the trainer. But Vinny got to a stage where he did want to become the trainer, and Dad didn't know, you know, he should have just stepped back then and let him have a go at it. Not have a go at it, because he was really training the horses in the finish anyway. So
Bob was so good at the other stuff, like maybe the bookkeeping, but getting owners to get involved in the sport as well.
not so much bookkeeping, but he was very good at getting owners together and getting the horses, the good horses that they needed in their stable. Dad was able to get that. Mum did the bookkeeping side of it, so they had a good team, and everything kind of fell apart a little bit when Mum passed away, because she kind of held a lot of that together. I think things started to go a little bit rocky when she passed.
I think Vinny just didn't want to upset his dad.
Yeah.
He didn't want to say, oh, no, I'm going to take over, because he didn't want to upset. He knew Bobby didn't want it to happen, because otherwise Bobby would drop out of that. Like, it'd be
Because that was his life too. So I think he felt he just didn't want to let go of the reins. Yeah. It's a bit sad it didn't happen, because that was something Vinny always wanted.
Because they had so much success, didn't they? And
Oh, for sure.
and they won Into Dominions, and I guess Vinny didn't get to drive an Into Dominion winner.
No.
Bob trained them, Vinny trained them, but it just didn't go his way, would you believe, in Into Dominions? Like, he made 10 straight finals.
Yep.
So what was it like putting those colours on then when Bob and Vinny were training?
Oh, it was good.
Yeah.
It was a great privilege.
Yeah.
Like, you sort of, you put them on, you were expected to win nearly every time, you know. So, you know, that was a bit hard. Love Garry's advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was their first real good horse. Like, he won, was it 22 straight as a 2-year-old? And, yeah, he was very, very good horse.
That was probably the start of them really
Yep.
becoming successful, because They were buying it for an owner, and the owner pulled out and they had to buy it themselves. So Mum was beside herself when she thought, "Come on, we've got to pay for this bloody horse." But then when he won so many races, then it really kick-started.
And your mum, you've mentioned your mum a few times. She was such an important part of this team and the success behind.
She ran the show.
Yeah.
No, she was terrific. Like she was.
All the bookwork, she'd
keep
have
them
all the
all in.
owners.
Keep them all in tow.
Yeah.
And she would understand Bob better than anyone, but she probably could control Vinny like.
Oh, she didn't have to control Vinny, but she controlled Dad.
Yeah, she understood Vinny.
She understood Vinny,
Yeah.
she controlled Dad.
Yeah.
But didn't control Vinny.
No.
But Vinny and Mum had a very close connection, and when she passed away, it was pretty hard on him.
Did Bob ever come around to you, Steve? Did you get a chance to eventually?
Oh, kind of. kind of. Kind of.
Nah, not really.
No.
Not really. We sort of, we never really hit it off. We both tried, but
Yeah, she had a bit of association when you got trained the horses for him for a while.
I sort of had to sort of take a step back then, sort of, because, you know, it was his business and everything like that. I was just in there running it for him, and so I had to sort of bite my tongue a fair bit,
But then those days were hard because the pressure was on. Things were a bit hard financially for him when Vinny passed, and so the pressure was on him, and he was just didn't know how to react to it. I don't think, did he?
No. He's pretty ruthless. He told you what he thought.
Yeah. How did Bob handle it when Vinny passed?
I think that was the end of Bobby too.
He didn't know how to handle it. I don't think. We knew it was the end of his world.
Yeah, he couldn't. Was sort of, you know, he ended up having a bypass up not long after it. He was just slowly going downhill. He didn't want to be around. So.
And the Kilmore Harness Racing Club in Kilmore, Vinny loved this town, and so did Bob. And the Kilmore Cup was the race that they wanted to win. They had great success. Is there any particular, like Vinny's great Kilmore Cup victory when the little master big attacked him a few times?
No.
Yeah, that was probably one of the best wins by Poppy actually, and he Brian put him in a bit of trouble a couple of times there, but Brian's only driving the win, and that was Brian's tactics. You know, it didn't look good, but you know that's what you got to do in racing. You know.
The Knight's name, the Knight name, and Vinny's name, and Bob's name, and Poppy's name, it will live forever. But we'll be talking about what they were able to achieve in this sport for years and years and years.
Yeah, which should never go, because they were harness racing. You know, so they were the greatest of their era, and I don't think anyone's ever surpassed them as far as the calibre of horses they had and what horses they had and what they done was just unbelievable.
The thing is, you've got to remember too, in the sport that they were in, they needed to have their owners. That was Dad's part. He played that part, and he'd go out and have a few drinks down the pub, and all of a sudden he'd have some guy from, say,
Wherever.
from Qantas, I think he had some guy there at one stage buying a horse for him, you know, just he had some big names in as owners, and for those horses to keep coming through, he still had to get out there and get those owners. So for Vinny to be able to train good horses.
They've both done their job perfectly.
Yeah.
So what did the Kilmore Cup mean to Vinny and Bob?
That was their aim nearly every year. That's all we got to get a horse for
We
the
had the
Kilmore
biggest
Cup.
parties here, we had a huge tent, and we always put on about half a dozen kegs, and we were always going down to get more because we were, by the time the afternoon had finished, they'd all call back to the tent. Everybody was invited.
But the two up after was sensational.
It was the biggest thrill for Dad.
So the Kilmore Cup, so when they sat out and Vinny and Bob set out their goals, it'd be Winfield Cup, Victoria Cup, probably Miracle Mile, into the Minion second, and Kilmore Cup 1.
Kilmore Cup be number one for sure. Yeah, they just, that's what they thrive for every year, to have, you know, a top line to go around that race.